No.
Hello, everybody. Zero. It's my intro, motherfucker. You forgot, didn't you?
I was just ready in case that you forgot.
Yeah, sure. That's how that works. All right. So, zero interest. Red versus Blue, season 6, reconstruction, I believe, is the subtitle. Episodes 7 and 8.
Mm-hmm.
Bad. Yeah.
Yeah.
Take it away.
So we start with Washington being like, "Yeah, so we got to destroy this armor now," and proceeds to
Yeah.
go.
Everyone's talking to him like very cautiously. Just let's all take a breather, and
uh,
no one's talking to you condescendingly or anything. It's all fine. We're
Just
all friends here.
back away. Got to do that protocol though and destroy the armor. So they're discussing with Delta. Well, in the background, Washington is he's throwing grenades
Very
and then using
thoroughly
the
destroying the
flamethrower.
body, yeah.
Yeah, I love background gags like that. They always just crack me up every time.
It's pretty good.
It's like, yeah, every time they show up in any medium, it just always gets me. Uh, Things of note. Yeah, so Washington is a bit nuts, but he's within the realms of okay to go sanity.
Yeah, within acceptable deviations. I think was
Yes.
something along the lines of what Delta said, which is very logic-y, which is what he is. I will point out at the very beginning there was the opening narration that we get from the subcommittee chairman or something.
Chairman
Internal affairs,
says,
basically.
yeah, we only give you one AI, but there were multiple in the log. We look forward to seeing that
Yeah.
amended.
Yeah, because that's obviously not right, because we didn't give you more than one.
so
So
we
clearly
find
this must
out,
be a mistake. And just to get this out of the way, because I will forget otherwise, the reply from the director that we get in the next episode basically doesn't answer the question of why there's...
yep, it
mention
avoids
more
it.
than
The director response to the next one is, we have lots of fail safes, and we have the beacons so we can retrieve any agents out in the field. Doesn't answer why they have so many, but Delta gives us that information specifically.
Yeah.
Because there's an alpha. Essentially, all the AIs came from one sort of prime alpha, which Washington is dismissing as a myth, despite the fact that, like, if they were all copies, there needs to be an alpha.
Yeah, he basically contradicts himself, and it's not unintentional that he contradicts himself here. He's not really being entirely honest with everyone.
Yeah, so Wash is not a very good liar. We also had there was a brief thing from the chairman and the director about the AIs.
I think we mentioned that.
Yeah, I just double checking just to run through.
We mentioned that earlier. Yeah.
Yeah, we mentioned that earlier. There's a bit of a cut because things happened, but so Washington gets a call. They are asking to confirm if he dealt with.
Yeah. He got a call for a recovery beacon that's gone off, which
Okay.
is what happens when a freelancer gets injured because they need to recover the equipment or save them, hopefully, but recover the equipment more importantly. And he gets one, and the operator on the other end is kind of, shh, we need to double. You sure? Yeah. And is like, it's Agent Main, which is the name of, or the alias of the meta.
Well, turns out the meta is a freelancer.
Which makes sense.
Yeah, it makes sense.
For people who would know about the AI thing and all the special equipment thing, probably so. Might have had one.
So, cut over to what I just called in my notes "Men on the Wall."
Yeah, pretty much.
Guarding the wall. It's just like, hey, your helmet looks different. And it's the meta.
Yeah. And just going to point out, this was my preferred anime sword fighting arena. And surprisingly enough, where the motor pool was in this episode.
Dude, it's a pretty good sword fighting arena.
Yeah, just flat plane. So, big flat open space you can use. And if you want to get kind of like in the thick of it, you can go into the turbine room where things are a bit more close. Yeah,
so
it's pretty good. Fun times.
Start of the next episode, they're looking for the meta because they have its actual location, so they can continue to hunt it.
Because he's running out of power, and Church is kind of freaking out about him being a freelancer, which, I mean, logical conclusion, but he's not especially bright. And they know that he's low power because that's why the beacon went off.
Yeah. Delta suggests Washington use him because it would work much better with him than with Caboose. Washington, of course, says no. We get a little bit of background on Washington was one of several failures involving AIs. Other failures were like North and South Dakota, where one got an AI, the other didn't, to see the effect on twins.
Yep.
And it resulted in South killing North.
Yeah. And seasons 9 and 10 are partially prequel, and you get that story. And I hate South Dakota. Like, Wash was entirely in the right for how he dealt with that situation. Like, holy shit. North was fucking great.
Carolina had two.
Yes.
And it drove her insane.
Kind of, yeah.
And the Agent Maine having presumably multiple, and
nope. He didn't have multiple. There is a thing behind Agent Maine. It won't be brought up in this season or the 3 seasons, depending on which we do. That's a prequel thing.
Okay, because there was a mention of him like having multiple and being powerful and crazy.
Yeah, he's powerful and crazy because he has so many now. Like, originally he was probably fine, but getting more and more, his brain is probably partially just mush at this point.
Yeah, that's kind of what I was trying to refer to, I guess.
Yeah.
I just worded it poorly.
Yeah, but originally he had just one and then decided, I'm going to get all of them. And that's how this...
I got to get all the Dragon Balls so I can get my wish. By the way, I just love that they call Washington just Wash. Yeah. It's so much shorter, and also it just makes me think that he needs to take a bath.
Yeah. They call Texas Tex, so
Washington. Washington goes in. They engage with the meta. Meta proceeds to kick his butt.
Pretty much, yeah.
Then everybody else goes after him. Church gets a sniper rifle, misses, and then rebound in the leg. Yes, it only counts if you call it though.
Yeah.
Oh. And as they run towards him, they hear the radio music. What I wrote in my notes as the Red of Mexico.
Yeah, it's a running gag for the Red Team. Whenever they use the Warthog, it has that music playing, and they either can't or don't want to turn it off, depending on the circumstances.
So Red Team comes in, they start just fighting everyone. And I believe
they crash in the windmill.
Yeah, they crash in the windmill. And it ultimately all kind of ends with an AI rave party.
Yeah, Church is all like, don't worry about these guys, Wash. They're completely incompetent. There is no way they could possibly do anything. And in the background, the turbine's going around, and they're sort of getting they're sort of getting pushed up with the turret just sideways. That shot must have taken so long just to get the Warthog in the exact right position to sit on that for so long and not fall off. It's impressive. Just wanted to say.
It is impressive considering that, like, this is all stuff very much done in game. Like, it's not like they are having things manually animated in some sort of third-party software or anything.
Yeah, it's like a lot of the camera angles they can be a bit more fancy with in this version because it's Halo 3. They started with the camera stuff in that where you could use it as a filmmaker kind of thing. Yeah. Pretty much because of Red versus Blue and nothing else. But all the stuff with the props and everything, they have to actually do by hand, and they have to get it right.
Mm-hmm. So it's all very clever, and I like that. I appreciate that. Yeah, and so Delta gets kind of swarmed by various different AIs, being like, "We miss you," and
Delta, we miss you, Delta.
And Delta's just like, I wasn't invited to this rave party, but I guess I am now.
Yeah,
all these various
Caboose is out, by the way, in the background. Caboose is just out.
As Cabooses want to do. Yeah. Interesting episode. Again, I'm liking how they're working with what they have. Because that shows just a genuine dedication and talent to get some of the things that they have going in this. Yeah.
Yeah, something they've talked about a lot in a lot of the commentaries for the DVDs is how sometimes restrictions can actually allow you to be more creative. Just because of how you have to get around certain obstacles in what you actually want to do.
Restrictions can force you to be more creative.
Yeah, and as time goes on, they've had to deal with less and less of those because, the game developers have been more accommodating with giving them more tools to use. Like, it just started with Halo 2 having the lower the weapon thing, and then Halo 3 gave them cameras that they can just have free roaming, not have to be tied to a player. And more things like that they can just do. Like, eventually, I think it lets the character models just not have weapons at all, which was the next thing I think they did after this. Yeah, and it's probably true. Yeah, I don't know quite where I was going with that particular point. I was going to say something about, like, they're dealing with less and less restrictions and it's actually negatively impacting. It's not really. It's stayed good for quite a few seasons. So.
As just kind of a general thing, when you're writing, my short fiction teacher had us write pieces that were like under 300 words as a challenge. Write a complete story in under that amount of words. And that restriction allowed me to be more creative and approach writing in a very different way than I normally would. And so it's a similar kind of concept here where, like, I think if they were, when they started Red versus Blue, if they had every single thing available to them, they would not be as creative with how they shoot their camera angles and how they set up their props. So, experience going forward, it helps as more of the wheels come off. Kind of training wheels, I guess. As more of those come off and they get less and less restrictions, that skill kind of translates.
Yeah. Because they can still do all this zany shit, but, they get to frame it better, essentially.
So, yeah, good pair of episodes.
Yeah. What are you thinking on the plot progression so far? Because this was a very plot-heavy pair of episodes, more than a lot of the previous ones have been, save possibly the first pair.
Well, now that we're like this far in, I have a much more solid grasp of the world and what's going on. So like I'm not as lost as I was in the beginning,
Hmm.
and that's perfectly fine. Part of that has been to like because I'm talking about this with you and you've seen it all. But as we're going forward, it's fine. The plot progression is fine. I wouldn't say there's anything particularly about the meta itself that I find interesting per se,
Hmm.
because all it does is really growl and is strong.
Pretty much, yeah.
And like I find the most interesting part of this show right now the ongoing discussion between the director and the chairman and seeing where that goes.
Hmm. It goes an interesting place, I'll say that much.
The whole thing with the AIs, that's interesting. I hope they do more stuff involving the AIs just to kind of flesh that out a bit more, which I'm pretty sure they will.
I'm going to say they do, yes.
And we'll see where it goes. Not all of the humor landed with me in this pair of episodes. And that's fine. That's to be expected. When you have a lot of comedy, not everything's going to hit the wall and stick. So
It's true.
the bits that did get me were the background bits, definitely.
They're pretty
It's
good
my
at that
weakness.
sometimes. Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. Anything else to say before we close out?
No, I think I'm good.
All right, cool. So that was episode 7 and 8. We'll be back with 9 and 10, and we'll cross the halfway point for season 6. Bye, everybody.
Bye.